Welcome to the Urantia book. If you are new here, the Urantia book is a revelation of truth written by celestial beings in an effort to help our confused planet. Our planet is backwards in many respects. It is primitive and rebellious. If you look at the wars, the violent crimes, and this book was sent here, channeled basically, in order to help us recorrect the course. And if you investigate it, you will see how much amazing wisdom there is that will help us in recorrecting that course. So, we are going to look today at personality survival. They say that faith is such a huge, important component in the universe, and it's something that we are lacking here. We are a very materialistic world. People are turning away from the concept of God because of the religions. A lot of the time have left them cold and dry, and they see the whether it be all of the greed that happens, the religions collecting money, or the dogmas, or their inability to accept new science. And so people have turned away from God. But this book is pointing out what we actually need here is God. And this part here, this is under personality survival. It teaches about personality being a gift from God to each human being, and that personality is capable of surviving death if you have faith and if you have the desire and will. Even if not, and you still haven't rejected it, maybe you don't know, maybe you're agnostic, this book teaches that you'll be resurrected based purely on the mercy aspect, and then you'll have another chance to maybe get things correct. How many people would change their tune about faith in God if they were resurrected at least for 1 minute after their death? They would definitely think about things a little bit differently if they were an atheistic person. Okay, so one of the things that this does is it corrects some of our concepts that our religions have tried to form. Religions are evolutionary in origin. This is revelatory in origin. This is a revealed piece of truth, whereas other religions, they evolve from different stories or all different types of ways. It goes into each one, how Buddhism evolved, how Christianity evolved. This book breaks it all down. The point that we're going to be looking into is how specific this is. And not only that, but the breaking of the shackles that spiritual truth brings to people. Not religious dogma, but spiritual truth. Religious dogma might be a shackle, hell, or redoing this life thousands of times over. So let's look at this and see what is personality survival. Survival of the human self. Selfhood is a cosmic reality, whether material, Urantia, or spiritual. And remember the other day we learned Urantia was the intervening aspect of material and spiritual. The actuality of the personal is the bestowal of the universal Father acting in and of himself or through his manifold universe agencies. To say that a being is personal is to recognize the relative individuation of such a being within the cosmic organism. The living cosmos is an all but infinitely integrated aggregation of real units, all of which are relatively subject to the destiny of the whole. But those that are personal have been endowed with the actual choice of destiny acceptance or of destiny rejection. So a rock doesn't do that. A blade of grass doesn't do. A blade of grass isn't sitting there and say, "Yeah, I want to continue on in the universe. I have faith. There's something else out there." Okay, but we as personalities are endowed with that choice. That which comes from the Father is like the Father, eternal, and that is just as true of personality, which God gives by his own free will choice, as it is of the divine thought adjuster. And that is just a term that they used to call the spirit that is endowed with every single people. We just call it a spirit. But that's a gift, a fragment of God is how they kind of just call it the thought adjuster, because it's helping adjust your thoughts, but only based on your free will. If you don't want it, it can't do anything. An actual fragment of God. Man's personality is eternal, but with regard to identity, a conditioned eternal reality. Having appeared in response to the Father's will, personality will attain deity destiny, but man must choose whether or not he will be present at the attainment of such destiny. In default of such choice, personality attains experiential deity directly, becoming a part of the supreme being. Okay, so this sentence is nice because it says, the personality, whatever your personality is, it's a gift from God and it's destined to attain God. But you have to choose in order to show up. So there's no flawed people out there. Maybe they might have done some wrong things or bad things, but if they have a personality, a gift from God, then they're destined there. And all they have to do is want it and choose it. Very tough choice in this day and age when you have an entire world programming you to deny that choice. And they get into why that is in the book, because the beings who control this world, this is all they have. They've sold their souls in order for the money, the power, and this is what they have, okay? And they want to keep it. If everybody was waking up left and right and choosing God and choosing all of, spirituality and loving each other, serving each other rather than war, well, geez, then they won't have to collect their taxes for the war machine, and they'll lose a little bit less power, lose a little more power each time somebody chooses. And then this part about, okay, if you default of such a choice, okay, personality attains experiential deity directly, becoming a part of the supreme being. So this is different than the concept of hell. In Christianity, if you default from your choice to choose God, you go into the universe's basement where cartoon devils poke you in the ass with pitchforks for eternity. Stupid, backwards, childish concepts invented by early primitive man or fear control priests in order to, and it's just so contradictory of an all-loving, all-powerful God. That doesn't happen here. That personality, if you reject, gets synthesized into the supreme being, which is the evolving God of time and space. It's an aspect. So you're not having a personal experience anymore. Once you get synthesized into this supreme being, you're not a personality. You're not like choosing anything. You're not getting poked in the ass with pitchforks or anything like that. It's just like, as if you never existed. But there's whatever is salvageable or useful of that is not lost or wasted. Okay, but you chose to not want to exist anymore. Your choice gets granted. And why wouldn't we want free will? Why wouldn't we want to choose things and earn things in the universe? I wouldn't want to be a puppet or a slave to God, forcing me to go on if it was against my free will. Okay, here we go. The cycle is foreordained, but man's participation therein is optional, personal, experiential. So that combines, people say, oh, well, things foreordained. Is God foreordained? Does he know everything? Well, that right there, your choice. You can choose to be a part of the foreordained or not. Mortal identity is a transient time life condition in the universe. It is real only insofar as the personality elects to become a continuing universe phenomenon. This is the essential difference between man and an energy system. The energy system must continue on. It has no choice. But man has everything to do with determining his own destiny. Because they say matter is not created or destroyed. It has to continue on. We don't, though. The adjuster is truly the path to paradise, but man himself must pursue that path by his own deciding, his free will choosing. Human beings possess identity only in the material sense. Such qualities of the self are expressed by the material mind as it functions in the energy system of the intellect. When it is said that man has identity, it is recognized that he is in possession of a mind circuit which has been placed in subordination to the acts and choosing of the will of the human personality. but this is a material and purely temporary manifestation, just as the human embryo is a transient parasitic stage of human life. Human beings, from a cosmic perspective, are born, live, and die in a relative instant of time. They are not enduring. So you have this short amount of time where your systems are subject to the will of the mind. Okay, your energy system, the mind circuit. Okay, your mind is subordinate to your will. Okay, so will even trumps what's happening, and we can, because we can choose. I can choose to do something like, I don't know, make a bad choice when it comes to diet or alcohol or something, or I can choose to make the more godly choice and abstain from those harmful things which might get me into a muddled situation. And then, so it's just a flash in an instant that we have this. It seems like it's a long time, but I love that line. It's a relative instant of time. But mortal personality, through its own choosing, possesses the power of transferring its seat of identity from the passing material intellect system to the higher Urantia soul system, which, in association with the thought adjuster, is created as a new vehicle for personality manifestation. So through that choice in choosing spirituality and God and love, then now you're making a new system, the Urantia soul, okay, which is capable of being a vehicle to allow that personality to survive. And it is this very power of choice, the universe insignia of free will creaturehood, that constitutes man's greatest opportunity and his supreme cosmic responsibility. Upon the integrity of the human volition depends the eternal destiny of the future finaliter. Upon the sincerity of the mortal free will, the divine adjuster, that's the fragment of God, depends for eternal personality. Because the adjuster isn't personal. We're the personality. The fragment is the perfect spirit. And if we team up, if we choose to team up, then that adjuster gets a personality, us. We merge. We become one, inseparable. And we get an eternal spirit to live on forever, no longer mortal at that point. Upon the sincerity of the mortal free will, the divine adjuster depends for eternal personality. Upon the faithfulness of mortal choice, the universal Father depends for the realization of a new and ascending son or daughter. Upon the steadfastness and wisdom of decision actions, the Supreme Being depends for the actuality of experiential evolution. Okay, that's the evolving God, the Supreme. It's an aspect of God, but they're still all one in monotheism. Though the cosmic circles of personality growth must eventually be attained, if through no fault of your own, the accidents of time and the handicaps of material existence prevent your mastering these levels on your native planet, if your intentions and desires are of survival value, there are issued the decrees of prohibition extension. You will be afforded additional time in which to prove yourself. So there you go. All it takes, folks, is your desires are of, if your intentions and desires are of survival value, okay? If you're a good-hearted person and maybe you got, a bad taste in your mouth from religion when you were young and you just rejected it all, but you're still that good-hearted person, those are survival values. Those survival values, you'll be given mercy in order to then say, yeah, I'm going to reach beyond my secular humanism into a spiritual understanding of values. If ever there is a doubt as to the advisability of advancing a human identity to the mansion worlds, the universe governments invariably rule in personal interests of that individual. They unhesitatingly advance such a soul to the status of a transitional being, while they continue their observations of the emerging Urantia intent and spiritual purpose. Thus, divine justice is certain of achievement, and divine mercy is accorded further opportunity for extending its ministry. So they err on the side of this mercy. The governments of Ravantan and Nebadon, which are the names for our super universe and local universe, do not claim absolute perfection for the detailed work of the universal plan of mortal repersonalization, but they do claim to, and actually do, manifest patience, tolerance, understanding, and merciful sympathy. We had rather assume the risk of a system rebellion than to court the hazard of depriving one struggling mortal from any evolutionary world of the eternal joy of pursuing the ascending career. Wow. Let's read that again. This is an extremely important little blurb. Okay, so they're talking about your next resurrection being in the mansion worlds, which is not a physical planet. It is not Earth. They go into this in detail. You do not redo the planet Earth. The universe is so vast and so big, and there's so many different levels to climb and things to learn that reincarnating on Earth is pointless. And I love that because that is a breaking of the shackles when we think of our Hinduism, Buddhism, and even our New Age, which says that we're going to do Earth 1,000 times. And each time, maybe you're going to learn one more little lesson, or you're going to master this. Or maybe next time you're going to be a blade of grass. And what are you going to be doing? Sitting in there as that blade of grass being like, yeah, I want to worship God, or I don't. It's just, it's when you get and I was somebody who believed in reincarnation before I got this book, okay? But when you get this, it really clears up a lot of things. Remember, God is logical and plausible. If a religious idea isn't logical, then it is a creation of man. So here is a comparison I'll give you for reincarnation. Think of the universe as a school. Reincarnation would be like if there was only one grade in the school, okay? It was, let's say it's first grade, and that's Earth. You're supposed to do first grade over and over again, and each time you're done with first grade, you wipe the memory out of that student and send them back to first grade again. Would you want that for, let's say, your kids? I would be like, this school is so stupid and pointless. Like, they just did it. Why are you Oh, because maybe they're going to pick something up on time 7,359 that now they're going to become a Buddha. Okay? Well, can't we make a second grade where maybe they can take those lessons from first and then try to apply them into second? Sure, that sounds like a much better idea. Should we wipe their memory? No. Why? Why would we wipe their memory of those things that they learned? Okay. And when I think about my life, it started when I started my birth, you know what I mean? Or like shortly thereafter when I started remembering things. I don't have this vast library of knowledge of 7,000 years where one I was a blade of grass, and the other I was a goat, and the other was a cow, and the other I was this and that and this and that. Okay. So it's breaking those shackles. It's saying this is a progression. We don't need to redo. The universe is big enough. This is an ascension plan. You're not on a redo plan. However, they will say that you are allowed to go back to a planet, but as a teacher revelator. In our planet, they were called the Caligastia 100. And but you go back as being you're going back with your knowledge bank as a teacher to that planet, okay, as a semi-spiritual being to help, upstep and live. They say that there's incarnation, like Jesus was an incarnation, but that's a very rare occurrence. That doesn't normally happen. So you can choose to go back to a world, or you can just continue on with your ascension plan. The other thing, too, that I'll say about reincarnation, since we're on the topic, when people say, I did hypnosis, and I had all of these ideas about that I was Cleopatra, and I even knew facts about Cleopatra's life that I had never read in a book. How did that happen? Well, there's a mind belt, okay? We read the other day, the custodians of record, they're storing all this information. Everything about Cleopatra's life is stored in this, in these, spiritual libraries, we'll call them. And you can access that. There's a cosmic mind belt. They call it the superconscious mind, and many, in New Age, they call it superconscious. It's a network. If people have a Kundalini awakening, they experience their consciousness dispersing, okay? Cosmic mind. So you can tap into these things without having read them in a book, all right? That's just a way that you can, but that doesn't mean that you lived that life just because you read a book about Cleopatra while you were in, an astral state or something like that, or you had a glimpse of what her life was like or something. That doesn't mean that you were Cleopatra. Cleopatra is on her ascension plan, as she should be, right? There's billions and billions of different areas that Cleopatra could go to, and worlds and things to do and see and things to learn. So let's let her do that, okay? Let's let all of our relatives go on their ascension plan, and we'll just be here and now in a well-grounded, faithful, spiritual understanding. Now, the other thing I will say, you were indwelt with an eternal being, a fragment of God that they call the thought adjuster. So you might feel like an old soul, so to speak. It's not that you're an old soul, because what we're seeing here, what we talked about another time, the soul is that new system, that Urantia soul, which is created during your life, and then that's what is the vehicle that carries you on into the next, okay? It's the spirit that is the eternal aspect of you. The soul is an evolutionary thing that has the potential for eternity. Your spirit is going to be eternal, whether you choose or not. That adjuster is going to live on, and it's going to indwell in another person. So you might have had an adjuster that has already indwelt another person who hasn't chosen to live on, but you're not their personality. You're not their soul. You might have that fragment of God, but if they chose that they didn't want to live on, then they dissolution into the supreme being. Okay, so that just clears up a couple things about what happens after we die as far as these religious concepts. Hell, stupid. Heaven is a wonderful and amazing concept, but it takes many steps in order to get there. This ascension plan, world after world, life after life, that it takes, because there's just so much to learn in the universe, okay? Faith will grant you that eternity, but then you have to do the mastery in order to advance in that eternity. So that's what the Urantia book says about life after death. Best presentation I've ever heard on it. Makes the most sense because it's taking justice, it's taking mercy into play, and it's taking love into play, and it's also taking rationale into play, whereas coming back over and over in third grade is not rational. Okay, folks, take care. Please like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions about the Urantia book.